All I remember is thinking about skis and on the knees.
Hey, you can have the banner. I'll take the banner.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into the DNVR Nuggets pregame show presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. You're going to want to download it right now. You're going to want to use promo code DNVR. At least have it. If you already have it downloaded, have it handy because Superstar Dev is back, and he is on a heater.
Bro, let's do this. I'm back. I'm excited to be back. It feels like I haven't seen you guys in a super long time. My best friend is here. He's in the dumps. We got to get him up.
I'm in the dumps.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
What's going on here, Eric?
Just, real life sometimes creeps into the world of the Nuggets fake analyst.
Yeah, this isn't real life. What we're doing now. You have a. Yeah,
Are you doing work as we speak? Are you going to continue working during the show?
I'm working on post-game graphics, but just to steady my troubled mind.
Oh, I love it. Over here, the man with a lot of energy because he's been Pelotoning a lot lately.
I have been Pelotoning a lot. I think I'm on like a 8-day streak.
What? Talk about a
8-day
heater.
streak or so.
Talk about a heater.
I do wish that back when people started following you on Peloton, I really wish that became a thing and you became this like cult guru.
I have like 2 followers. One of them is Sam Esfandiari, friend of the show.
Is that right? You guys
Because I think we
Pelotoned up,
talked
huh?
about it on the show.
Oh, that's hilarious.
The second is my girlfriend. Those are my 2 followers.
All right, those are your 2 followers. That sounds solid. I'm telling you, I'm still interested in this Peloton group. That's what DNVR is all about, bringing people together to exercise. The last part was a little bit of a shocker. We do have some fun today, guys. We're playing the Memphis Grizzlies again. And so we're going to talk about the 2018 redraft because Jaren Jackson Jr., fantastic player. He was in that draft. Michael Porter, ever heard of him? He was in that one. And I actually, as I was doing this today, going through all the players in that draft, fantastic draft class. That's a fantastic draft
really
class.
Was.
Yeah, they're like, you start going in there, second rounders and everything. Like, it was a very deep draft. It's also like guys like Jalen Brunson for me feel like they had been in the league for 7 years. I was very surprised that he was in that draft.
I also remember the night of the draft, there was this feeling of, Nuggets are at 14. They're going to get a good player regardless of what happens.
I thought it was going to be Miles Bridges.
Miles Bridges was the guy who everybody thought was going to fall to 14. There was no way the Clippers were going to pass on Michael Porter Jr. twice.
There was no way. And yet,
here we are.
We're also going to talk about side piece teams because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I kind of like the Grizzlies.
Do you? You've had like a little Grizzlies thing.
I do.
Pieces.
Little side piece. Yeah, Dev is good. Lights right up. That's his quarter. But first, of course,
a
little too excited over here. First, we have to find out what's going on with this game.
Sure.
Latest game notes win. What do we have?
So Nuggets and Grizzlies just played, of course, when was that, a week ago?
Yeah,
Double OT thriller,
Yeah.
47 for
Was a
Nikola
thriller.
Jokic. The biggest, sorry.
That's right. Compose yourself.
The
It's
biggest
okay.
difference in tonight's matchup compared to
Channel
that
PJ.
one, the Grizzlies are healthy. The Nuggets are not. The Grizzlies have Dylan Brooks back, who missed that game. They've got Jaren Jackson back. They've got Jonas Valanciunas back. Malone called Dylan Brooks one of the more underrated two-way players.
That's interesting.
In the NBA.
That's interesting. He is good.
Yeah. Little shot happy at times.
A little shot happy.
He's good.
DeAnthony Melton, here's the thing. They were missing all those guys. Are they going to be better than DeAnthony Melton was in the first half of that game? It's impossible. He was like 8 for 8 from 3. So
another member of the 2018 draft.
another one. Exactly. He's even on the list. You go through it. It's just nothing but great players.
Yeah.
It is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a really tough game. Now, they were on a back-to-back. They did play last night. Very emotional game down the stretch against the Portland Trailblazers. They pulled that one out. Mm-hmm. Portland continues to just be the absolute worst.
I don't understand, man. Portland was supposed to be coming into their own. They were like,
man. Everybody was saying that, and we set the record straight on this show, I feel like. We called Portland out as
frauds.
Kind of frauds from the beginning.
Fraudulent.
It's time to rip Fraud City.
Yeah, Vote is really down on Portland.
You guys don't want to know about Vote's secret. These are not public takes. Don't burn the man.
I'm sorry.
Don't burn the man about the group chat, but he has some takes about one Portland Trailblazers. All right, what else we got? What about Malone? What was he?
So Malone has a couple interesting things to say. He was talking about JaVale McGee. What has he been like behind the scenes? Can he get him some more playing time? Can he get him on the floor more? First of all, he said JaVale's been phenomenal behind the scenes. His energy, his positivity, supporting guys, whether he's playing or not, his voice in the locker room. Malone said it's just been really fun to watch, and I appreciate it so much. I told him that. And then in terms of getting him on the floor more, he didn't really answer the question, to be honest. He said, this was interesting, though. Quote, he brings something completely different to the game that JaMychal Green and Paul Millsap just don't have. That's not a knock on those guys, but they're not 7-footers that are dynamic rollers and shot blockers. It's just a matter of finding opportunities for JaVale.
I feel like this is what we were saying. We're like,
He watched the show, you know.
He's different than those two guys you keep putting out that are the same guy. Like, why not give him a chance? It's funny. You would think, based on that quote, that he'd been playing him.
Yeah. Right.
Do you think he plays tonight?
I'll say no. I'll say no. I mean, I think the reason, or one of the main reasons he played 2 nights ago was because it was a back-to-back.
Yeah.
And Paul Millsap's resting on those. So, I mean, I've said it before. I think they get to JaVale McGee and Jermichael Green. I think they get to that pairing eventually. But yeah,
Not that much time left.
seems like it's a continued slow play in that regard.
What do you think, Eric? You are the Malone whisperer.
Man, I do not know. I am very confused by this because we are stuck between a rock and an old place. And Paul Millsap is like, he's like very, like, one of the strongest tenets that Michael Malone has is that he's like, sticks up for and sticks by his guys that have been there, that play the right way, set the tone, become a Malone guy. Then it's like it's impossible to take you out of the roster until you're traded, like Torrey Craig or otherwise. So it feels very obvious at this point that that pairing of Millsap and J. Mike is just like not working, but I have no idea. Like I'm very perplexed by this.
I like Alan here. Alan Davis in the chat says every time Malone hypes a guy up, he doesn't play him.
That is very true.
That's so accurate.
Like he wants to
It is
make
true.
sure he's feeling good while he's on the bench.
And Marcus Howard has been putting in work behind the scenes, you guys. Putting in work.
My read on it,
Whoa,
if I had to put
Eric.
on my Eric Weedham hat, my read on it is that they feel like, and I think we saw this last game, they can just kind of plug JaVale McGee in, and he's going to be ready to go. He's going to keep himself ready, and he can just get in the game and make an impact. I don't think he needs a lot of time to ramp up the speed. I think he's just a plug-and-play type guy. And if the Nuggets play the Lakers in the first round, which, it's up in the air still, but I think they're the most likely first-round opponent, that's a series that you'll really need JaVale McGee. And I don't think right now you want to burn him out or, like, risk an injury.
Yeah.
You can say that about
Being
everybody on the
extra
roster.
conservative about that last part
But
there.
I feel like he'd be a big factor in a Lakers series.
Let's move on now to our second topic here, which is the 2018 redraft. That was, of course, the Michael Porter draft. And let's talk about where the talent is in this one, like how you would rank it. And I got to say, I put this out on Twitter today hoping to generate some conversation. Very little. Like people I just wanted to argue my list rather than give their list. So I'm very curious to hear what you guys had to say. But I will say, Michael Porter Jr. reminded me a lot of Nikola Jokic circa 2016, which is to say everybody looks at the points per game and that's what they judge him by, but not the slope of his career or whatever. And I'm so curious. I think this specific ranking we're going to have is going to create a lot of controversy. Luka Doncic is number 1.
Yep.
I had somebody today say that they would have taken Trae Young number 1. Really surprised me. But I
said that today?
Yeah. And there are people. Actually, I've actually heard this take. It's not like he's the only person on earth that thought that. There was a lot of people. It's our new guy, I believe, Julian. Man, he's been a homie. He's been around a lot lately. But I'm curious if other people have. If there's any controversy here for you guys, Luka or Trae.
It's clearly Luka to me.
Yeah,
It was clear the night of the draft. It's clear 2+ years later. It's not even close, in my opinion.
Wasn't that clear? The night of the
It
draft.
was clear to me. It was clear to a lot of people.
I'm just confused. There are really people that think that they would take Trae Young over Luka Doncic today.
Trae Young's very good.
Yeah,
I
but
know,
the scary
but-
part is the today part. Like
That's what I mean.
it was hard when Luka, nobody knew of him. You saw Trae Young in college. You got to see what he was. And Luka was more of a.
Saw Luka in EuroLeague.
Yeah, but it was an unknown, and also we don't know a lot of. If you don't really follow the game, you don't know the EuroLeague and also the other players in it or how good that league is. So that makes a dip. There's other guys that have came over from other countries and they're not as good as him. So I think back then it was okay, so it's a coin flip, but there's no way you watch the game today or see the way that he impacts the game today and think Trae Young is anywhere close to Luka.
Except when he plays the Nuggets, man.
He's definitely against the Nuggets. He is. Where is Trae number 2 for you?
Trae is number 2 for me.
Okay.
I am still high on him. And also I think that the way that he impacts the game from being so small, he's not a big guard or anything like that. He's not a guy that has any type of athleticism or anything like that, but he shoots the hell out of the ball. He has unlimited range, and also he's a high IQ player to me. Like he gets guys to where they need to be, and he knows how to lead a franchise. They're not winning quite yet, but they're on the up and up now, and he's changed that around.
Yeah.
So I think that he's a really, really good player. Not Luka level, but I think in that draft he's number 2 for me.
Man, I think I would probably go Ayton or Jackson Jr. at number 2. I
Really?
I like what Trae Young is, but I also don't trust it.
Yeah, same.
In any way. Like, I think it's really fun, but I think it's like a lesser version of Steph that'll never get to that level.
Hawks kind of rolling right now without him. It's a little weird. Like they're kind of
man. Like Luke. I mean, Trae is like a fun player, no doubt, but like so is Facu. But just like in different ways.
Yeah, I do wonder 2 things. One, I mean, this is such like lame analysis, but I think it's also fair. In a playoff series, I'm really curious to see what teams do to him because he just has physical limitations that are going to really hurt him. The foul calls, he's right up there in that top tier of player that draws the BS, stop on a dime, jump sideways, throw it up, and get the call. So I'm just curious if you lose just 10% of that, 5% of that, what happens? Does he become more exploitable? And then also, I don't want to get my hopes up. I do feel like the NBA is going to start taking a look at some of these rules that we hate so much, that these tiny players benefit from. And I wonder if again, the margins are so important for him that if you just tighten up the rules 5%, you no longer jump forward or jump sideways or whatever, how much does that take away from his effectiveness? I'm curious there.
Yeah. So I've got Trae Young pretty low. I've got him 4th.
Woo!
On my list.
That's a hot take.
I'm very curious to see what he looks like in the playoffs.
Kale agrees with you, apparently.
Yeah. I don't know what he's going to look like in the playoffs. Like we're going to see it this year, but people got to understand game playing defensively in the playoffs is totally different.
So different
than the regular season. You can't game plan to the extent that you do in the playoffs normally because you got a new opponent every couple of days.
Right. You'll confuse players if you break from your system too much.
Exactly. When you give a good coach and a good defense a couple days, an entire series to game plan for Trae Young, I just wonder what that looks like.
They're going to probably have, unless they get that 4 seed, they're going to probably have a really tough matchup. It looks like they'll probably play the Knicks, actually, so that would be a tough one as well.
You know who I would take number 2 overall?
Well, let's hear it.
Michael Porter Jr.
This is what I was wondering. I was surprised you were so definitive about this.
Well, I just was doing the homework.
Here are the candidates. You got Trae Young. You've got Jaren Jackson Jr., DeAndre Ayton, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Michael Porter Jr. I think those guys, to me, become in that next tier after him. And here's how I would put it. Michael Porter Jr. is less proven than a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or a Trae Young because they've had to shoulder more responsibility, play more minutes, whatever. Michael Porter Jr. is shooting 50% or better for 6 weeks in a row now on volume.
Dude.
To me, I'm surprised that was even a controversial take that he would be number 2. Not that it was, I didn't think it would be unanimous, but when you compare him to Trae Young or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, those guys, to me, do they make as big of an impact? Like, they're more well-rounded. They do all these things. Michael Porter Jr. can be just an unguardable, broke the system, it's over now kind of player. And those guys can't.
Michael Porter Jr., if you look at the numbers, the tracking data, the catch-and-shoot three-point percentages, he's the second-best shooter in the league this year. Right. Behind Joe
Volume
Maris.
shooter, volume.
And it's last year, he didn't have a lot of attempts. This year, he's got a ton of attempts.
Same numbers, too. Actually, a little better numbers.
Exactly. So he has the ability and is on the trajectory to be an all-time shooter. He really is. And he's 6'10" and can do a lot of other stuff also.
The pushback that I have with Michael Porter Jr. so high is that I think that he's just in the perfect situation. Like, it's everything aligned for him to be at this point. And that's why. I mean, there was the injuries and everything coming forward. But also, if he was to shoulder the load the entire way, fresh out of college, I don't think he would have done well. Like, I think that Malone, grooming him and putting him in these spots where you have to, if you don't know what you're doing, you're benched. It's different than having to go straight out there. Luka and Trae have to take on the load every single time, and they have bad players around them because that's why they went so high. It's just the draft order. But if you put Michael Porter Jr. on that Dallas team, he's not shooting the same way. He's having to affect the game in different ways. So it makes it really hard. I do think now the player that Michael Porter Jr. is now, it changes it, but he's also still alongside Nikola Jokic, and that makes it a lot easier for him. So I am high on him.
You don't think that Michael Porter could look like Brandon Ingram through his first 2 seasons?
Yes, and then that's where he plateaus. He's going to.
But here's my thing: he's a more efficient, he's a better shooter than Brandon Ingram is. And Brandon Ingram just was so skinny. Remember, it took him a long time, and it was like piece by piece. But over time, you give him a lot. Does his team win? No. Does his numbers look great? Yes. I think Michael Porter would be a guy averaging at this point, his third year now. I bet he would be at a 25 point per game score, making 3 threes or 4 threes a game. And would his percentages be way worse than now? Yes. But I don't know. You give that guy the ball, it's what he does. He scores.
Yeah, I
scores on bad teams. That's what's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander doing.
He would be kind of like that, like in that mode, but not a every night type of player that can do that every night. There's going to be a lot of nights that he's being attacked because he's only putting up a certain amount of points. Like, that's just a lot to carry a whole load by himself. And also, Michael Porter Jr. is like, I mean, none of these guys are defensive players.
Right.
But like, you would just start to like talk about those other things. You wouldn't see him in the same light if he's by himself on a different team. He's surrounded by the perfect like situation.
Eric, I want to hear your opinion on this about perfect situation, because I think he's in the perfect situation to become a well-rounded, complete player. But I think he's in the worst, or one of the worst situations for him to be a like hyped player. I think he'd be so much more hyped.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really undeniable. Like, Michael Porter Jr. he's Showtime, baby.
He is Showtime. He's
Showtime. And he is in a position where he is, he has to wait. He has to be, I mean, he's been reined in consistently since he's gotten here, and he's just now finally starting to really spread his wings, and that only comes through, horrible injury. So, it's, if we're looking at this like redrafting, like, okay, which is the best player to go to which specific team, that might change the draft. But if we're just saying like, which are the best players that actually came out of that draft, I mean, to me, it goes Doncic, then Porter Jr., then Jaren Jackson. Then
Jaren Jackson, Ayton to me are like a tie. Like, I can't decide.
But the two of them are right in there. But I also, I really like is Miles Bridges.
Mikal Bridges, way better.
I don't know.
He's also in there.
I watched a game yesterday with Miles Bridges where I was like super impressed by him.
He's very athletic, but
you're impressed by the athleticism.
No, he was
Mikal Bridges is like one of my favorite players, man. I love that dude so much. He's like OG Anunoby,
Here's another thing on Porter. The biggest red flag during the draft was his health, obviously.
This is the thing that people are like, "Are you kidding me? Trae Young's way better." I'm like, guys, 3 years ago when the draft happened, Michael Porter was the star of that team, and Trae Young was great too. But
yeah, and if you remember, he was gonna go to the Kings. It seemed like until that last draft workout that he had to pull out, and then he fell to 14. And if you look at Michael Porter's last 2 years, he's been remarkably healthy for a guy who I had heard a lot of people think wasn't going to have, a healthy NBA career. Now we'll see how he looks years down the line.
Right.
But so far, I mean, the guy has been way healthier than anybody thought he would be.
Yeah. I think that this will be like, this reminds me so much of you really think he's better than Kristaps Porzingis conversation. Right. And we're going to look back at this in 2 years and be like, I told you guys. The guy averaging 25, shooting 45% from three. Yeah, he's the best one.
I know, right? You're telling me Jokic is better than Karl Anthony Towns?
It's true.
Karl Anthony Towns?
And Karl Anthony Towns is good. It's just that, come on, our guy's a little bit better. You disagree, Def, so you're on record now. I can't wait to bring this video up in 2 years.
He can't dribble or create for himself. There's no way you put him around other guys that are just role players, and he has to do it himself.
He can do it. I actually think he can do it better than what he shows. The Denver offense is very rigid. He's not great at it, but it's very, very much a don't do those things. I think that the layers of that onion will be peeled. But we got to keep moving. You don't get another say in here. We got to talk about side piece teams here.
Wait. You're not going to let me finish out my top five?
Oh, God. All right, here we go.
Number 3, I had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Okay.
Number 4, Trae Young. Number 5, Mikal Bridges.
So no Ayton or Jaren Jackson.
Mikal Bridges is like the exact type of
He's
player
like an elite
you want
role
to build
player.
your team around.
He's not build around though. You don't build your team around him, but you don't.
He fills an integral role that like every rebuilding team needs to have. Man.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
All right, thank you for that list there.
I just had to get that.
If you guys ever want to go there and look at that list though. Like, there's so many good players that came
really
out
are,
that year.
yeah.
That's a great draft class. Really good. Side piece teams. I only brought this up because I kind of like Memphis. Man, they're blue collar. They get no respect. They're just like Denver, only more so.
They're more Denver than Denver?
They're more Denver than Denver. I mean, they're like the smallest market or one of. And I just like them. I like Ja Morant. The fans of their team that I know, I like them.
Yeah.
They're my side piece team along with the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns, my other side piece team. I love that team. Yeah. Phoenix plays my favorite style of basketball. I'm jealous of Phoenix.
I'm uncomfortable with having a side piece team in the Western Conference.
I know two of them, and they're both in the playoffs, too.
That's not really that bad because they haven't been relevant until this year. Like
they'll totally drop. Like you play them once in the playoffs, and you're like, I freaking hate Dylan Brooks. They're out.
Thin line between love and hate, Alan. Thin line.
All right, who are your side piece teams?
I don't really have side piece teams, man. I just love the Denver Nuggets. Like I'm interested by other teams, but I'm not.
Who's most interesting to you?
I'm interested by the rise of the Knicks.
Wow, I'm not interested at all in the Knicks.
Me neither.
I could care less about
well, it's funny
Knicks.
because like
I'm already annoyed at how overrated they are, and they're really good.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like to me, it's interesting. Like you bring in a coach and you bring in one player, and like what can happen from that?
No.
Like, to me, it's interesting. I don't really care. Like I'm so locked out into the Nuggets.
Yeah, he's such a loyal boyfriend over here. There's no side pieces, no even window shopping.
Man. Very on brand. I
very on brand. He's just straight head.
Not interested.
There you go, Dev.
I've liked players. Like I like, especially the players that are like around my age that are still in the league. I really love that. And older. That Phoenix team, I've always loved Phoenix Suns. I was a Steve Nash guy.
That's right.
So I've always loved them. So I've always rooted for them, and now they have Chris Paul, which is huge for me.
Yeah.
So that's always interesting. And then Devin Booker is a great scorer.
No.
I think Ayton is a player of the future.
Good.
I think
like
he's
him.
getting a lot better. Again, they have Mikal Bridges. Like they have really good pieces. Cameron Johnson is really good. Mm-hmm. That's a team that they probably were my second team. But the team that I for some reason have watched for the last 4-5 years is the Bucks.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, this really surprises me.
Front runner.
I think they're a tough watch, to be honest.
I love it. First off, I just love the fact that Giannis can do whatever he wants. Like there are people out there that truly thinks that all he can do is dunk, and I think that is the wildest thing.
My guy Tony.
And then just
friend of the
see
show.
the evolution of him. Like how he has progressed, like his body, the way that he impacts the game, the takeover, changing position. Like he came in as a guy that didn't know what his position was.
The center.
Jason Kidd goes and puts him at point guard, and they just take off from there. And now he does everything on the court. I think that's incredible. Then I just love how they surrounded him with shooters and a lot of guys that people don't know. Like we say that they're front runners and things that's not a good team. He does not have good players surrounding him.
Come on, man.
Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday.
They got some players,
but they're also new. But Middleton he's a year. He had one good year. And
get out! This is Chris Middleton corner.
Every now and then, Dev's all pragmatic. Then every now and then he just comes out with the freaking flamethrower.
Chris Middleton's one of my favorite players in the league.
He's not good. All right, well, bunch of scrubs.
But Giannis is.
But he likes watching them. They're a side piece team.
There.
He's a very critical boyfriend. He's very unimpressed.
Yeah. So Memphis has been my side piece team for a couple years, but they're too good now. They're too hot.
All right.
Too hot. I think I'm switching to Charlotte now.
Yeah, Charlotte's interesting.
Charlotte's fun.
Yeah, they
got fun players.
That's a good
LaMelo
one.
Ball, Eric's guy, Miles Bridges, good dunker.
Yeah,
they got a fun announcer. They got a cool looking court. Just a fun team.
Yeah.
A fun team that isn't that good. They're not like anybody's rival. You don't have to worry about them. You can just watch them and enjoy yourself.
You know what this is for me? It's this is not my side piece team. It's this is another person's kids. And
it's a cool little kid.
There's a kid over there that I'm oh, that's pretty. And all the other kids just annoy me. I just hate them. And there's some that I'm oh yeah, I like that kid. That's cool.
Kind of to that point, another team I was thinking about, Chicago, with the Arturis connection.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, I do root for Chicago.
Yeah,
you're right. I root for Arturis. I retweeted him dapping up the team as they come off the other day, and I just warmed my heart.
You feel good if Chicago does good. Yeah,
I felt so good about it. All right, so Eric's side piece, if I understand correctly, is a child.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll move on quickly here from that. Very uncomfortable. But it's time to make money. We put Eric in charge last week. We did okay. We didn't do bad.
I did great.
We have a super chat.
From our man Eric.
From Eric.
Shout out to my guy. And I don't know what this handle is. Is that Gavin? Yeah. Shout out to his guy Gavin. He's at the DNVR Bar for his birthday.
He's in the
trying to
chat.
How to buy him around. Well, listen, Eric.
We'll get around for him.
We'll get around.
Tell us what to order.
Done.
Tell us what to get, and we'll get that for him. Yeah, make it terrible.
The Soupier chat. Will
all right, Dev, you're back in the house. You're on a heater. The world needs money. Make us some money.
take a look at it. Let's take a look. So right now, the first thing that pops out is -4 for the Nuggets.
Okay.
Grizzlies are on the second night of a back-to-back, and Nuggets
They're
are the
tired,
better
man.
team. They're tired. And you know, they just had a really good game against Portland, where I feel like they just went all out to try to get that win. So Nuggets are not a team
that was a more important game for them than this one.
It really was. And you don't want to come into like Denver and try to go all out after already going all out in Portland.
Get hurt.
Like, that's just tough. Yeah, you get hurt. So I do like the Nuggets -4, and I usually don't take the lines or whatever. So that's one that stands out. One thing that I do see that DraftKings really did get smart about is Michael Porter Jr.'s threes are up.
I saw this.
They're at 3.5.
Whoa!
After we got them at 2.5 for so long.
They're not up high enough.
I still
not
like
high
it.
enough.
But
I still
plus
like
value.
Plus 120.
I like
Guys,
it.
Plus money.
seven 3-pointers, 8 3-pointers. 4 3-pointers is not that much.
It's not.
What do you feel?
Especially if you already think that he's going to hit his 3 every time. You might as well add one more. And it looks like he's taking a lot of shots. In the last game, he took 12, 13
He's taking double-digit
he's
threes his last 2
taking
games.
all of them. And that has to be like something that Malone is harping on. Like, he has to tell him to keep shooting those shots.
Give me the word. Are we taking it?
We're taking it.
Oh, let's take it.
We
baby.
are
It's
taking
my
it.
favorite bet.
And while we're on that,
Michael Porter
Jr.
threes are the most fun thing right now, so I just love betting it.
And while they like that rose, what didn't rise was the 22.5 points. Like that's what he's at. If you already think he's going to make 4 threes, you already know he's going to like slash and find points at the rim. So give me the points. 22.5 for Michael Porter Jr.
I like us riding this Michael Porter wave. Let's keep riding it.
Yep, we're going to ride that wave until it's done. And also, they don't have a guy for him. They just don't.
Yeah.
So that's one that I really like. What's another one? I'll put the Michael Porter Jr. as a lock. That is a lock. The points, 22.5.
Really? That's a lock.
Is a lock for me.
Okay.
The other lock.
I'm going to have to double up my bet then. If that's what
The other lock that sucks is Ja Morant over. Points, rebounds, and assists. It's only at 32.5.
Yeah.
He's starting to score now. He's starting to realize that he can score the basketball. He's coming off of a game that he had 28 last night. I think that he tries to ride that wave and show that he can score, and he's like starting to become that.
I like
32.5, you just have to take it. That's my other luck.
It's your guy, isn't he, Ja Morant?
No, he is not my guy.
Oh, he's not. Oh, okay.
Where would you take him in a redraft?
Is there anything else that stands out for you guys?
I'm on the Nikola Jokic train also. Like he would have hit all of his numbers if they weren't beating the absolute life out of the Houston Rockets. Like through 3 quarters, he ended up missing his points by 2.
So you like Jokic points? Are we just going to write Jokic points?
I like Jokic points, rebounds, assists. I like all the Jokic stuff tonight. I definitely like Jokic points. I'm taking him to score the first basket of the game too.
I'll
hop on you with that dumb bet. Why not?
I was a bit down on the points, rebounds, and assists because it's like Valanciunas. But then I realized last night they had Cantor go off. They had Nurkic go off against them. Like, he's not defending the same way. And maybe it's even bringing in Jaren Jackson Jr., who's, typically supposed to be a good defender, but they're not able to guard those big guys right now. So, I mean, you can't go wrong saying Jokic. I'm not on that, but, I mean, that makes sense that Eric's on it.
It does make sense that Eric said it.
I'm on it.
I like it. I'm with it. So, Michael Porter, we're just going to keep riding this train?
Dude, ride this train, dude. Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Should be a fun one. Thanks for tuning in. Guys, don't forget, hit the like button. We're also almost to 10,000 followers on Twitter. So if you're in the Twitter game and you're not following us, what are you doing? Come on, follow us. DNVR_Nuggets. Give us a follow. Get us over 10,000. Hopefully by the end of the week. Be a nice little goal.
Hopefully by the end of tonight.
End of the month. Maybe end of tonight. We'll see everybody after the game.
See you in the Winners Lounge.